Hi YouTube, I'm Jacob Beach
And I'm Mrs. Beach.
with the Preppers Bunker Outdoors, and today we're here to talk to you about Alone Season 2, Episode 6, so stick around, check it out. Alright guys, so this was another really fun, really cool episode because we didn't have anybody tap. A lot of excitement out there. We really see the survivors getting into a groove and getting comfortable to a certain extent. And the first person we're going to talk about is Nicole. Nicole got another big old salmon. She's eating well out there. We're on like day 17. So these guys are basically champions. All of them. And Nicole's doing much better than we predicted at the beginning of the season. And looking back, I think I should have known that. But most of what we saw from Nicole is, although we did see, I think, in the background how cool her shelter was she's holding some guilt and some difficulties with her past and her son-in-law. What did you think about her story as it was shown in this episode?
Well, I think Nicole is a tough competitor. I mean, especially being a woman, women obviously will face different challenges than men will face out in survival and, being in a situation like that. So she really is doing a really good job, and her guilt that she was talking about, I think that's very natural. A lot of people, especially, including myself, when you lose something or someone that is close to you, you always think about what if and what if I would have done this and would that have helped? Could that have changed things? So that's a very natural feeling that she's having, and I just hope that she's able to pull through it and to not let that, really eat away at her. She said that her stepson would be really proud of her, and I think that's, something that could keep her going rather than tearing her apart.
So, the show's called Alone because once you get past the survival skills, if you have the survival skills, the ultimate challenge really becomes that solitude. So I'm hoping that she does really well and continues to do well.
Yep, absolutely.
So the next person up is Jose. Jose's really interesting because he got a fish, but he said that he wasn't really happy with that because he was surviving, which is having the skills to stay alive until being rescued, and what he wanted was wilderness living. Jose wants to be able to live long-term comfortably, not just get by meal to meal to meal until he wins.
Right.
So he started working on building a boat. It's quite a bit different than Lucas's boat. For what we can see so far, it's really exciting. It's a lot more work than you can see in this. But then one of his main pieces broke.
Yeah.
It's got to be heartbreaking. What's hard about Jose is they're not showing us much of what Jose is doing, but I feel like he's doing a lot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I would say that he's probably one of the contestants that we have seen the least of.
Him and Justin.
Yeah, Justin too. We don't really see a whole lot. We haven't seen a whole lot of him at all.
No.
Jimbo's attacking something. He's hunting. He loves coming out here. He does.
It's his favorite.
Oh yeah, he loves going out with his daddy. And mommy too.
All right, so what's popular right now with people who are talking about Alone is to say how comfortable Mike is, like he's making his own little hotel there, which is pretty funny. And in this episode, he made a boat, which is pretty dang cool, out of a big plastic container that he had wash up. So I think that's really going to help him out. What I thought that was really interesting about Mike's boat was actually not the boat, his paddle. Whenever you think of someone making or bushcrafting a paddle, you think of them making one large solid piece. And what he did was he cut notches in one piece, then roped it to another piece, what could have been lumber or just a long stick, I don't remember exactly. But that had to have been a huge time saver, which is pretty cool. What do you think about how Mike's doing out there?
Mike is using his resources. He's using anything that he can find on the beach that washes up. So in this case, a giant container. He has a really good spirit about him. He's in high spirits. I mean, he's really. I think he's enjoying himself. And something that I also really admire about Mike is that he is not afraid to thank God for everything that he's been given out there. And he will just, say it. Thank you, Jesus. And I love that. I think that's great. But I really think that he's doing really well. He has, set up his hotel with, we talked about this, I think, probably 2 episodes ago. And I just think that he's really doing great.
He also found a toilet.
Yes.
Perfect toilet.
Yep.
Moss covered, soft, cushiony.
It's important.
It's gonna be nice. Yeah, Mike's doing really well. I think he's got constant food. He's got projects to keep his heart in the right place. Now, knowing Mike, I know that he probably was preaching some sermons on Alone, so I'm sure that got edited out. But Mike loves to talk about God. That's really, really cool. And I think the biggest thing in Alone, and we always talk about this mental aspect, is you can see the differences in the way that people think about things and how they're handling it. And I would say that Mike is the most positive, and Mike and Nicole are both stand out as being more positive,
Right.
and Justin as well. So, and a lot of times you see people are more negative from the last season. They'll tap a little quicker. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, for sure.
Yep. He's doing really good, though.
So, Larry is one of the most talked about contestants in Alone. The reason's pretty obvious. The guy's got a little bit of pent-up frustration out there. So Larry gets another fish. He's eating, but he's constantly frustrated in his current spot. You see that night he has some difficulty with his wet tinder and getting the fire going because all his crap's wet. And it's really, little things are really eaten really fast at Larry. He has this problem with a mouse eating at his gear. And I'm thinking to myself, well, let's get some traps out for this mouse and eat the sucker. But he might have done that, it might not have been shown, or it might just not be worth the calories to him. We're not sure. But
You remember season 1, Sam was catching mice and eating them.
yeah, and even in this season, Randy.
Did he?
Yep.
Okay.
So people are eating mice out there, but I think that since he had fish, it just wasn't worth it to him. But he decides to move, and so he gets to a new spot that's cleared out and that is by the ocean.
Way better.
Very nice spot, and I think for the most part you can actually see the frustration lessening. Still gets frustrated with the shelter.
Yeah.
I know what it's like when you cut something just a little bit too short and then do it repeatedly. It's kind of like when you're trying to work with your cell phone and it just refuses to work on your piece of technology. Obviously it's a very frustrating situation, but he's handling things with a lot less frustration than he was before. He talks about mood swings. Well, you're starving, basically.
Right.
your body's chemical balance is off. So mood swings are pretty well expected. But he's finding chanterelle mushrooms. He's finding supplies up on the ocean. I think now Larry is in a place where he can survive, which is good.
Well, and instead of Larry letting his frustration really, really get to him and just give up, he's choosing to
Keep on.
move. This is his third move. Um, and honestly, his location that he just moved from, if you remember, I was talking about how he was going up and down a hill constantly. And that's exhausting. And he said he was really closed in, and um, I think it's very important to be happy and comfortable in your home, your shelter, because that's where you're going to be staying. That's where you're doing your sleeping, and that's where you're living. So I really admired the fact that he was made up his mind. We're going to go look for a different place, and when he found one, he got right to work. And, started making a shelter and making it a home for him. So he definitely, I think, is more vocal with his frustrations than some of the other competitors that we've seen so far. But at the same time, he's been very proactive for the most part in bettering his situation. He hasn't had the best of luck in
He's had some pretty
yeah,
tough terrain
yeah.
to deal with.
So he's been doing pretty good.
So we're going to wrap up the review with Randy. Randy has a nice cabin built now. He made a nice bed. Randy is starting again to remind me very much of Lucas, and Randy is finally going to the ocean for food. So he hadn't eaten any meat in 2 weeks, and then he went to the ocean, and every day for 3 days he pulled out at least one fish.
Yeah.
That's got to be huge. What do you think? You think he's kicking himself for not trying that earlier?
I would be. The ocean is one of your biggest resources, the water. So absolutely take advantage of that. And like I said, that would be one of the first places that I would go for food rather than, trying to hunt or set up traps and stuff. Land traps. I would
Right.
set up traps in the water and try to fish and stuff. So probably, I would be.
Randy's very good at setting up his land traps, but regardless, they take a lot of effort. A lot of calories, a lot of frustration, a lot of work, especially comparatively. So, now hopefully he will be able to continue to get food from those traps and get food from the ocean, which would be nice. Now, Randy left us on a very questionable note. I think that once one of the contestants starts thinking about what they want to accomplish before they tap, that's the beginning of the end. Because then you say, well, I just want to accomplish these things before I tap. Well, when things get really stressful, you're like, well, maybe I don't have to do this one thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I won't do this other thing. And then something happens, you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm just out. So, I want Randy to continue to be successful, for sure. I hope that the History Channel is just leading us on
Yeah.
to think that that's where he's going. I think it's awesome that he's spent so much time without a ferro rod, keeping that fire going.
Oh, absolutely. That was very impressive to me, and
Day 17
yeah.
at this point.
That's
That's awesome.
pretty big.
So Randy's got some tenacity. He's sticking to it. I think that he's a very exciting contender, and I'm really excited to see how his teaching career goes after the show.
Yeah, he has a very likable personality, and he doesn't have your, um, cookie cutter appearance. He's definitely has a different appearance with the longer hair and the longer beard, but I like his personality.
He seems genuine.
Yeah, absolutely. He seems like somebody that I'd be willing to hang out with.
Some survivalists are survivalists because they want to prove something to other people. And that doesn't seem like who Randy is. Randy's one of the only people, is the only person, who I haven't met and spent time with out of the cast, so I don't know him as well as I do everyone else. Looks like a really cool guy, and definitely a guy I'd like to get to know.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you were talking about when people start to say, this is what I hope to accomplish before I leave. My goal would be that they would, come up to my camp, be like, hey, guess what? You're the last one. You win.
Right.
That's my goal. My goal would be to win. Yeah.
Oh, I got a question in last week's episode about what kind of boots everyone was wearing. Thought this was a good question, so I'll address it here. I don't know exactly what boots everybody has, but it looks like a lot of the contestants are wearing muck boots, which makes sense. It's going to be wet. It's going to be wet for a long time. They're going to have to wait out. So it looks like for that environment where they might not have to necessarily do a lot of hiking, they're not, a lot of people online are talking about ounces are pounds and pounds are pain and all this other stuff. The contestants don't care about that. They're not on the AT trail. They are packing kit and setting up a homestead.
Right.
So they don't have to worry about ounces or pounds.
Right.
And they also might not necessarily have to have hiking shoes. So the muck boots make sense. I've seen them on quite a few of them out there.
Yeah.
So it looks like that's what a lot of them are wearing. Thanks for that question. If anybody else has questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm excited to see Dave in next episode. He comments on our channel fairly often, and hopefully the others will as well. So if you have any questions of them, go ahead and ask, and I look forward to talking to you guys.
Thanks for watching, guys.
I hope to talk to you soon. Have a great day. Please like, comment, and subscribe.